Hello friends, welcome to our session. So far we have been discussing about Indian polity and constitution, right? But in today's session we are going to discuss about weekly current affairs. So this session will cover all the current affairs that have happened in the week from 16th of October till 22nd of October 2023. So this current affairs session will cover all the topics including national affairs, international affairs, business and economics related news, sports related news and other events that have taken place in this week so far. So let us begin with our session on current affairs. Even before we start off with our discussion on current affairs, let me explain you about the dynamism of this topic with respect to our competitive examinations. As we all know, current affairs is the most common subject in all the competitive examinations these days. No matter whichever competitive exam you appear for, you will have current affairs as one of the most important and the most common subjects or topics in that examination, be it Union Public Service Commission examinations like civil services or CDS or NDA or any other examinations conducted by UPSC. Not only UPSC, but also Staff Selection Commission examinations like CGL, CHSL or SI or any other examinations, including IBPS examinations, railway examinations, bank examinations and other competitive examinations these days have been covering current affairs as one of its important sections. So current affairs is the most common subject irrespective of the scheme of the examination, irrespective of the nature of the competitive examination. Not only competitive examinations, friends, but we have this topic of current affairs also in entrance examinations like CLAT or IPMAT or other entrance examinations into professional courses. So you cannot do away with current affairs from your preparation strategy. You must include current affairs as a part and parcel of your preparation, and you have to give equal importance to current affairs as much as you give to other important topics based on the examination that you are attempting for. So having said that, we will cover our current affairs session today by discussing few topics. To start off with, we shall discuss about the periodic labor force survey that was released by National Statistical Office. What is a periodic labor force survey? This periodic labor force survey is a report which is prepared by an institution called National Statistical Office, which comes under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. This report is prepared on an annual basis, hence it is termed as the annual report. So the periodic labor force survey annual report for 22-23 has been released by National Statistical Office, NSO. So the results pertain to the period starting from April 2022 to June 2023. So this periodic labor force survey will analyze the report, will analyze the statistics and information pertaining to this period starting from April 2022 to June 2023. So what are the key observations and findings of this periodic labor force survey by the institution called NSO? Summarily, as a whole, this report finds out that there is a noticeable decrease in the country's unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate in our country has witnessed a significant decline. This is what the periodic labor force survey has to say. And at the same time, there is a rise in the labor force participation rate of the country. Also, there is an improvement in the worker population ratio. So what is labor force participation rate, what is worker population ratio, and what is the unemployment rate? We shall be discussing about all these key terminologies in a while from now. But let us first identify and let us first look into the key observations and findings of the periodic labor force survey report or annual report of 22-23. This report provides valuable insights into the changing dynamics of the Indian labor market. So what are the findings? It signals a positive shift in the labor force participation rate of the country. Labor force participation rate. It says that there is an increase in the labor force participation rate for the individuals who are aged more than 15 years in the urban areas from 47.5% in April-June 2022 to 48.8% in the same period of 22-23. So according to the previous year's annual report of periodic labor force, the labor force participation rate of the country was 47.5% for 22, whereas it has increased to 48.8% for the same period in 2023. This reflects a promising trend indicating that there is a growing participation in the labor force in the country. The second observation is the gender disparity in the labor force participation. This report says that there is a noticeable increase in the labor force participation rate, especially for women or females. The labor force participation rate has increased from 20% in the previous year to 23% in the present year 2023, while the same labor force participation rate has remained steady for the females. The most significant finding of this report is that the LFPR, which stands for labor force participation rate, has remained steady for the males, whereas it has seen a significant rise for the females from 20% to 23.2% in 2023. The worker population ratio is also on the rise. Very logically, to understand, as the labor force participation rate increases, logically the worker population ratio will also see an increase. So an important indicator of the health of a nation's labor market is worker population ratio. Worker population ratio is considered to be an important indicator of the health of the country's labor market. The worker population ratio has also increased from 43.9% in April-June 2022 to 45.5% in the same period ending in 2023 for again the individuals who are aged 15 years and above. This also signals or signifies a promising shift in the employment trends. So the employment rate has been on the rise in the country, and the unemployment rate has also been decreasing because of the increase in the labor force participation rate and also thereby the worker population ratio of the country. So this marks or this signals a promising shift in the health of the employment trends of the country. This report also says that there is a balanced decline in the unemployment rate. It says that the decline or the decrease in the unemployment rate is same for males and also for the females. So the unemployment rates are declining or decreasing on an equal basis both for the males and also for the females. Hence it says that there is a balanced decline in the unemployment rates in the labor force. This decline in the unemployment rate is a positive sign for the Indian labor market, indicating that more and more people are finding gainful employment in the economy. So the declining unemployment rate indicates that it is a positive sign for the Indian economy. Why? Because more and more population, more and more labor force of the country is finding gainful employment to contribute towards the growth of the economy of the country. Do you know some important facts related to this labor force and the periodic labor force survey released by the National Statistical Office? So what is the significance of this PLFS survey released by the National Statistical Office? The decrease in the unemployment rate and the rise in the labor force participation rate and the rise in the worker population ratio is an indication for improving job market. So the job market situation in the country is witnessing a steady and a significant improvement in terms of the increase in the labor force participation rate, worker population ratio, and at the same time declining unemployment rates among the labor force in the country. Moreover, the governments claim that these indicators are surpassing or overtaking the pre-pandemic levels suggests that India's labor market is not only recovering, but it is also showing signs of a growth. So these trends can be seen as a positive sign for the country's economic stability and also the well-being of its citizens. So the government is claiming that these indicators, the observations or the findings of the periodic labor force survey are signaling not only a recovery from the pre-pandemic levels, but also it suggests that the Indian labor market has been on a growth trajectory, and that these trends can be seen as a positive sign for the country's economic stability and growth, and also for the well-being of its citizens. Some other important facts related to this periodic labor force survey are: the National Sample Survey Office. The National Sample Survey Office has launched this periodic labor force survey in April 2017. So this was the first time that this periodic labor force survey was initially launched or released by an institute called National Sample Survey Office to estimate the key employment and unemployment indicators, namely worker population ratio, labor force participation rate, and unemployment rate in short time intervals of 3 quarters or 3 months for the urban areas only in the current weekly status, to estimate employment and unemployment indicators in both usual status and current weekly status in the rural and urban areas annually. So the National Sample Survey Office will release 2 different types of reports. One is an annual report, just like the previous one whichever we discussed a while ago, and a quarterly report which releases a report on the basis of the information which is gathered for the 3 months preceding the release of the survey. So what is NSSO? National Sample Survey Office, which is formerly called as National Sample Survey Organization, is the largest organization in the country which is designated to carry out large-scale periodic socio-economic surveys. So National Sample Survey Office, which was previously called as National Sample Survey Organization, is the nodal agency of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which will carry out large-scale periodic socio-economic surveys, just like the periodic labor force survey whichever we discussed. However, this National Sample Survey Office was merged with Central Statistical Office CSO to form National Statistical Office in 2019. NSSO was merged with CSO, which is Central Statistical Office, to form National Statistical Office in 2019. So what is CSO? CSO, which is Central Statistical Office, was previously called as Central Statistical Organization. This organization or this office is also responsible for the coordination of various statistical activities in India and also for evolving and maintaining statistical standards while preparing reports. So CSO, which is Central Statistical Office, was previously called as Central Statistical Organization, is responsible for coordination and management of various statistical activities in India and also for evolving and maintaining statistical standards in reports and surveys. Now, what is worker population ratio, which we discussed a while ago? What is LFPR and what is UR or unemployment rate? Worker population ratio is defined as the percentage of employed persons in the population. Out of the total population, what is the percentage of those persons who are employed? It indicates the worker population ratio of the country. Labor force participation rate or LFPR, it is defined as the percentage of those persons in the labor force, that is those people who are working or seeking employment or who are available for work in the population. So out of the total population, what is the percentage of those people who are working or seeking work or who are available for work? So this percentage of population is defined as the labor force participation rate. So it indicates those people who are either working or who are willing to work or who are in the search of employment or who are available for any type of gainful employment. It indicates the labor force. Unemployment rate is defined as the percentage of those persons who are unemployed among the persons within the labor force. So one noticeable difference is that unemployment rate is considered out of the labor force. So out of the labor force, that is those people who are either working or in search of work or available for work, out of the labor force, that percentage of persons who are unemployed or who are not gainfully employed is defined as the unemployment rate. So labor force participation rate and unemployment rate and worker population ratio are the three important indicators that determines the health of the labor force of a country. So periodic labor force survey released by the National Statistical Office is one such survey which gives us important information related to the employment scenario in the country, and it also helps us to identify the growth trajectory of the country in terms of its economy. The next important news that we have to cover within this topic of current affairs is the Global Remote Work Index. Global Remote Work Index. India has been ranked 64th out of a total of 108 countries in the world in terms of Global Remote Work Index. So what exactly is the Global Remote Work Index and who prepares it? It is developed and published by a cyber security firm called Nair. Nair, which happens to be a cyber security firm, has developed and established or published this Global Remote Work Index, which evaluates countries on the basis of fundamental criteria which are considered crucial for remote working, like cyber safety, economic safety, digital and physical infrastructure, and social safety. So these are the four fundamental criteria or the principles based on which Nair has developed and also published Global Remote Work Index. So out of a total of 108 countries that have been analyzed on the basis of these four indicators or criteria, India was ranked 64th. So 64th out of 108 is the rank of India in terms of Global Remote Work Index. So it denotes that India is faring very poor in terms of remote work access or remote work situation. And India was also ranked 77th in terms of digital and physical infrastructure category. Just a while ago we discussed that one of the four criteria or principles for analyzing the country's remote work index situation is digital and physical infrastructure category. So in that, India is ranked 77th. So India is ranked 77th in terms of its digital and physical infrastructure category, indicating that its infrastructure is among the least developed globally. So India's infrastructure or physical infrastructure or digital infrastructure is considered to be the least among the global countries. So what are the top 5 countries which are leading in this index? Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and Sweden. If you observe, all these 5 countries belong to European continent or Europe. Denmark has topped this list or index, followed by Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and Sweden. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranks have been captured by these 5 countries, and India's rank is 64th out of 108. So from the exam point of view, you may be asked about the India's ranking in terms of global remote work index, or you may be also asked to identify which country has topped the index of global remote work index. So Denmark, and India's rank is 64th out of 108. Or you may be also questioned about the criteria that was used by the node layer to identify or to analyze the countries. So what are these criteria? Cyber safety, economic safety, digital and physical infrastructure, and social safety. These are the four fundamental criteria or the principles based on which this index was being developed by Node Layer. Node Layer is a cyber security firm which has developed this index. Gaganyaan TV-D1 mission. So what is Gaganyaan and what is TV-D1 mission, and who carried out this mission also happens to be the most important topic of discussion in our session on current affairs. Gaganyaan is considered to be one of the historic moments for India's ambitious and most historic human space mission. So the test vehicle demonstration 1. The test vehicle demonstration 1 is designed by ISRO's Gaganyaan program, which has successfully took off flight from Sriharikota space station, which is an island in Andhra Pradesh. So Gaganyaan is India's ambitious human space program, which is carried out by Indian Space Research Organization. So Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, is carrying out a series of operations or a series of missions as a part of this Gaganyaan mission. One such mission was TV-D1 mission, which is known as Test Vehicle Demonstration 1 mission. So what are the objectives and what is the significance of this mission? The Test Vehicle Demonstration 1 and the launch of this mission was aimed at achieving several critical mission objectives which can bring India closer to the realization of its dream of sending humans into space. So ISRO is carrying out these missions, is conducting these missions in order to achieve several critical mission objectives which can bring India closer to the realization of sending humans into the space as a part of its ambitious human space program. So the various objectives of Gaganyaan mission include the flight demonstration and evaluation of test vehicle subsystems. The flight demonstration and evaluation of test vehicle subsystems, crew escape system evaluation, crew module characteristics assessment, deceleration system demonstration at higher altitudes. So these are the four objectives of the test vehicle demonstration 1 experiment or mission carried out by ISRO. So the test vehicle D1 and its significance. The test vehicle D1 mission is a single stage liquid rocket developed for this critical abort mission, which has played a pivotal role in simulating an abort scenario during the ascent trajectory. So this test vehicle D1 mission is a single staged liquid rocket which is basically developed to achieve critical abort mission, and this plays a significant role in simulating an abort scenario during the ascent trajectory. Some important facts related to this TV-D1 launch of ISRO. So the successful launch not only signifies a remarkable achievement for India's space program, but also reaffirms the nation's commitment to exploring the possibilities of human space travel. So the Indian Space Research Organization has been actively exploring the possibilities of conducting human space missions or human space programs. So as a part of that objective, as a part of that mission, this successful launch of TV-D1 it signifies or it denotes a significant and landmark achievement of India's space program, but it also reaffirms, it also re-establishes the nation's commitment to exploring the possibilities of human space program. This successful launch of TVD1 also paves the way for the India's Space Research Organization to brighter future in terms of space exploration. So what is Gaganyaan? Gaganyaan is India's first human space mission. It is the first ever human space program of the Indian Space Research Organization, and the term that is used to denote this is Gaganyaan. This is a mission of ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, and the objective is to send 3 human beings into space on a lower Earth orbit or LEO for 7 days and to bring them back safely to the Earth. And the timeline for completion of this mission is by 2025. So basically ISRO wants to send 3 astronauts to the space, and it wants to complete this mission by 2025. TVD1 or Test Vehicle Demonstration 1 was the first phase of this series of experiments conducted by the ISRO as a part of its Gaganyaan mission. So what is the second phase of this Gaganyaan mission? This includes the launch of Vyom-Mitra. Vyom-Mitra is a female spacefaring half-humanoid robot that will function as a prototype for the Gaganyaan missions. If this second phase of sending or launching Vyom-Mitra is also successful, then India will become the only 4th country in the entire world to send humans into the space. So far only Russia, United States, China were able to send their astronauts into the space, and if this Gaganyaan mission is successful, then India will join this elite club and will become the only 4th country in the entire world to successfully send humans into the space. Some important and interesting facts related to this Gaganyaan mission is that long time ago, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, who happens to be an Indian citizen, has also went into the space. He was flying aboard Soyuz T-11 on April 3, 1984 as a part of the Soviet Intercosmos program. So India, in collaboration or partnership with the Russian Space Agency or Soviet Intercosmos program, has sent the wing commander of the Indian Air Force by name Rakesh Sharma into the space. So Rakesh Sharma has been recognized as the first Indian citizen to venture into the space. He is the only Indian citizen to travel in space, although there have been other astronauts of Indian origin who also ventured into space, but they were not Indian citizens, namely Sunita Williams and Kalpana Chawla, as we all know. So Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams also, they belong to Indian origin, but they are not Indian citizens. Hence, Rakesh Sharma deserves the credit and he gets the recognition of being the lone Indian citizen to venture into space. So he traveled on Soyuz T-11 on April 3, 1984 as a part of Soviet Intercosmos program. So this is some important facts and some interesting facts related to the Gaganyaan mission of ISRO. So what is lower Earth orbit or LEO? Lower Earth orbit is relatively closer to the Earth's surface, which is normally at an altitude of less than say 1000 kilometers, but it could also be as much as 160 kilometers above the Earth's surface, which is quite less compared to the other Earth orbits like the geostationary Earth orbit. But this lower Earth orbit is also considered to be very far away and very far above the Earth's surface. It is usually used for satellite imaging and providing higher resolution images as the orbit is much more closer to the Earth's surface. The International Space Station uses this lower Earth orbit to send its missions, making it easier for the astronauts to travel. Remote sensing satellites and communication satellites also use this lower Earth orbit. So what is the launch vehicle that is used for the Gaganyaan mission? The name of this vehicle is Launch Vehicle Mark III. It is the heaviest vehicle or the heaviest rocket of ISRO. It was earlier called as GSLV Mark III or Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle Mark III or GSLV Mark III. So it is renamed as Launch Vehicle Mark III. It consists of three stages: solid, liquid and cryogenic stage. HLVM3 or Human Rated Launch Vehicle Mark III. So all the systems in Launch Vehicle Mark III are reconfigured to meet the human rating requirements, and it is renamed as Human Rated Launch Vehicle Mark III. It consists of crew escape system, which is powered by a set of quick actions, high burn rate solid motors, which ensures that the crew module along with the crew is taken to a safer distance in case of any emergency. So for the safety and security of the human astronauts who venture into the space, this human rated launch vehicle Mark III consists of crew escape systems, which will ensure that the crew module in which the astronauts are carried along with the crew is taken to a safer distance in case of any abrupt or emergency situation. So LVM3 and HLVM3 is the launch vehicle that is being used for this Gaganyaan mission of ISRO. So these are some of the important facts related to this topic, Gaganyaan mission.